Welcome to the Secrets of Personal Injury Law with Colin Bober.
Hello and welcome to the Secrets of Personal Injury Law with Colin Bober. Colin is a personal injury attorney who has represented over 4,000 clients with a gross settlement recovery of over $50 million. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is Beyond the Repairs, How Property Damage Fits into Personal Injury Claims. Colin, welcome back.
Happy to be here.
I don't think we've talked about property damage, and if we have, it wasn't much. So this will be good to get into.
Yep.
How does property damage factor into a personal injury claim, and why is it often overlooked?
To make it simple, there's no causal connection between the bodily injury claim and the property damage claim. And the reason I say that is because what will happen is we'll assume for argument purposes that the insurance company has accepted liability and they want to go out and look at your car, right? So say you're rear-ended, right? And maybe they weren't going like 50, but you got hit, you hit your head on the headrest, enough to jostle your body a little bit, right? But your bumper looks fine, okay? Well, insurance companies typically say in the first interaction, well, it's a low velocity impact. We don't believe your client could have been injured because of the picture of the bumper. The problem is that there's a reinforcement bar behind the bumper. The bumper is there to absorb the impact.
Right.
Mission accomplished, all right. But when a vehicle goes in for repair, if the absorber behind it has to be replaced, then that impact was a lot more severe than it looks like in the picture, right? And so that's obstacle number one. That's why I say those two things are not correlated together. We don't care what the property damage looks like as long as you are justifiably saying, based on your testimony as the client and the testimony that a doctor would say that they believe, based on their experience, that these two things, the accident and the injury are related, that's good. Okay, so that's obstacle number one. Number two is that you have to resolve your property damage before you settle your bodily injury claim, because the release, assuming you reach an agreement, closes the entire claim, bodily injury and property damage. So if you don't take care of your property damage, but you settle your bodily injury claim and you sign the release, you're done, right? So you have to be mindful of that before you settle, you have to take care of both sides of the claim.
Okay. Is there any particular reason why you have to do one before the other?
Well, you only have to do one before the other because if you sign the release before you fix the car, you've indemnified them and they haven't paid you for the car.
Okay.
You just have to make sure that your car's taken care of before you sign the release.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Yep.
And then are there other types of property damage that can be included in a personal injury case beyond vehicle repairs?
Yeah, I mean, some people get hit hard enough where, everybody wants the latest and greatest iPhone. I mean, I'm behind a few generations, but I'm too cheap for that. So, like, if I got the latest and greatest iPhone, what is it now, 16, right? And
I don't even know at this point. Yeah.
Right? Okay, see, that's my point. So if you have like the latest and greatest iPhone 16 and you got the Pro Max and it costs you $2,000 and you have it in a cup holder because you're driving responsibly, you're not on your phone, and the glass smashes up against the dash and your phone doesn't work anymore, then that's a consequential damage of the accident. Or the one thing that is very common and is very important is that if you have an infant in a car seat and the vehicle obviously is involved in an accident, then the insurance company is required to pay to replace that car seat.
That's good.
Right, exactly. So it's something that most people don't know that you have to consider.
Yeah.
Right, and it's not that hard. All you have to do is take a picture of the car seat in the car so you prove that it was there. Go find something similar on Amazon, whether it's the same brand, send it to them with a receipt and say, I need a new car seat. They'll probably require you to send a picture back, cutting the strap, showing that you're not going to use it. They don't want to pay you for one if you're just going to use the one that you got. And then they send you a check and you get a new car seat. So anything that you can reasonably connect to, this was damaged because it was in my car, and it damaged because we've had clients that also go to the grocery store and get rear-ended. Well, all their groceries are just obliterated. Well, that's also a reasonable reimbursement.
Well, especially with the price of eggs these days. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Very popular topic.
Yeah, it is a popular topic. Is it challenging to assess the value of damaged or destroyed property? I mean, that it's a little more nuanced, I feel like.
Well, it depends on what it is, and you have to be reasonable with it too. If you just went to Walmart and bought a bunch of groceries, you have the receipt. Right? Or if you had an iPhone that's an iPhone 16, you know how much it's worth. If you're still like old school and you're like iPhone 7, see? Okay, so good luck. It's
Yeah.
still worth something, but you're going to have to show it. Whereas some people are like, well, I had one lady who said, I need reimbursement for my fidget spinner. Yeah, see?
I fumble a lot, so I have
All
a
right.
fidget spinner
There you go.
just because I need to do something.
Do you, bro? Do you, bro? I'm not hating on you. But yeah, I mean, but but you have to ask yourself from a reasonable perspective.
Yeah.
If you want to negotiate with an insurance company, do you really want to die on the hill for reimbursement for a fidget spinner?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So everybody's entitled to reimbursement for what's been damaged. I'm not disputing that. But what I would say is try and be reasonable and make sure you're not trying to overplay your hand and get everything that was damaged in your car fixed, because you have to show a causal connection between the accident and the damage. And I don't know how you damage a fidget spinner. I really don't.
Well, it does stick a little bit.
Well, I don't think that counts. Don't try it, Kevin. Don't do it because I can't help you.
Okay. All right. Good. Noted. I'm gonna write that down. All right. No.
Yeah,
fidgets.
don't do that.
All right. Cool. How do we love to talk about how insurance companies will try to do everything they can to minimize payouts. So there are other tactics that they use with property damage claims.
The most important thing, and actually this is the most important thing. So a lot of people get in an accident and we tell them at the outset, look, you got two options. You can wait until liability is established from the at-fault party, assuming there is one, right? And that could take up to 30 days because they have to talk to their insured, get their side of the story and all that jazz, right? Mm-hmm. Which takes time. And until they make that decision, they're not paying you anything for your car, which means it's chilling. Whether it's totaled or repairable, it doesn't matter. It's chilling, right? So we tell them, hey, you have the option to go through your insurance under your collision if you have it, and it'll help you get your car fixed today, get it started today. And then what'll happen, you'll be responsible for your deductible. But once liability is established from the at-fault carrier, it's called subrogation. Your insurance company sends the bill for the repair or the total loss value of the vehicle, along with your deductible, over to the other insurance to get reimbursed, right? So you're out of your deductible today, but you can get your car fixed starting today, and you can get reimbursed your deductible, so you don't have to wait. And most people say, well, I don't want to do that because I'm not at fault. I don't disagree with anybody who says that. But that's not the practical aspect of what we're trying to get you to do. We're trying to get you in your car today. If you want to wait 30 days, then go ahead and wait 30 days. That's up to you. My job is to give you advice and allow you to make your decision. I don't make the decision for you. But if you make the wrong decision and you have to wait 30 days, then there's nothing I can do to help you. So that's the most important part, is we're trying to help you get your situation taken care of now. And so that's one of the most difficult parts. Now, to answer your question before, one of the things one of the biggest disputes is, well, I don't agree with the value of my car considering that it's a total loss. Well, what they do is they run the VIN number to make sure that it has all the options, and you get your total loss worksheet to show how they calculated it with all the options. And they also do comparables of similar vehicles, make a model in your area, to come up with a number. It is your job as the client to make sure that all your options are on the car. If you have one of those premium models or a special model that, is a limited edition or whatever, make sure it's included, because that's how it's calculated. So you can go through and you can negotiate that for sure. Right?
Yeah, I feel like everybody thinks their car is worth more than it is, right? When they go to trade it in or something like that.
Well, and so that's the other aspect of it. If you have a 1997 Chevy, if it's 30 years old, you're going to get what you get, right?
Yeah, but unless it's something like a really cool Chevy.
Like a classic Chevy, like
a
7 or something, But also, if you got like a brand new 2025 Grand Cherokee worth like $60,000 to $80,000, you're going to have to make sure that all that technology and stuff is in there. Whether you had sensors in the back or cameras or whatever, you have to make sure it's all there, right? So that's the other thing. And the other part is that the insurance company is not required to put OEM parts on a car, right? So most people say, well, I got a 2025, I want OEM parts. Totally get that. Totally fine. But the law doesn't require them to do that. So if you want those parts, you have to pay the difference, right? So then the next question, the next hurdle is, well, I want diminished value on my car because it's been in an accident now. If you have a 1997 Chevy, the value of your vehicle probably didn't go down. Right? It is what it is, but
it was already basically zero.
Yeah, right. So, but if you have the reverse, where you have a 2025 Grand Cherokee, and some people will argue, well, sometimes there has to be frame damage or something severe. And I'm like, I don't share that view.
Yeah.
Because what I say is, I don't really care. It's been in an accident. And I can't sell it to anybody, whether it's a private seller or a dealer, without mentioning that it was in an accident, because it's going to show up on the Carfax report anyway. Right. So I always argue for it because everybody needs that peace of mind. It may not be as much as you want, but it'll be something. So those are the hurdles. What kind of parts do I get? Do I get diminished value? How do I come up with the value of the vehicle? Those are the things that start the biggest fight, because people are treating and taking care of their injuries now. That takes time. But how do they get to treatment if they have no car? Right? That has to happen now, which is why we say if you have the option to go through your insurance to get it done now, you should. Nobody cares if it's your fault for the purposes of getting you taken care of now.
Okay. That's a good point to make. And I agree with you on the frame damage too, especially these days with cars. There's so much technology in these cars now.
Right.
And if some of that technology doesn't work, it kind of messes things up a little bit because they're so dependent on it. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think just maybe frame damage was something that, in the 80s or 90s was okay, but now with all the technology, I think it's different.
Well, I mean, I think that the diminished value can be a very complex issue, but the fundamental purpose of it to me is I don't have the right to withhold from anybody that my vehicle has been in an accident, and I can't because it's going to show up on a Carfax report.
Right.
So if somebody sees that and discounts the value of my vehicle already, then I'm going to make the argument that says you need to give me something for compensation for that. If we have a disagreement about the value of that, then fine. But for an insurance company to say, well, we don't think we owe you anything, well, that's cool because you don't own this car. It's not your problem.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So you should always make the argument, but you have to be realistic on what you're asking for. Just like the property damage, personal items in the car, you have to be reasonable. Mm-hmm. Know what your options are, but be reasonable about it.
Can you get reimbursed for some things like rental cars if you need something to get to and from your appointments or work or whatever?
You can, but the thing about rental cars is there are two scenarios, one of which is your vehicle repairable, right? So if your vehicle is repairable, your rental only begins when the repairs on the vehicle begin. So a couple podcasts ago, we were talking about, stupid responses related to COVID and why people didn't do what they did, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the things in COVID was there was a supply chain problem because everything was locked down. So it took a lot of time for the people that were driving to get parts in. Right. There was a lead time. And one of the fights we got into was, well, the insurance company said, we're not responsible for the lead time, but people didn't have a car. So we had to negotiate that based on the circumstance. Normally, the repair doesn't begin until, the rental doesn't begin until the repairs begin. So if you have to order a bunch of parts before the repairs can begin, you're not reimbursed for that. So if you take out a rental for the purposes of keeping your lifestyle and stuff, you can submit that, of course, but keep in mind that you're only entitled to reimbursement for when the repairs begin. If the vehicle is a total loss, you're entitled to either the loss of use of your vehicle or which is the equivalent of a rental up until the vehicle is declared a total loss, and probably a couple days after that, like 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
You get in an accident and your vehicle's totaled, liability is still pending. The vehicle's totaled. You can't drive it. It's leaking fluid. You know it, but it hasn't formally been declared a total loss by the insurance company. Then you're entitled to the loss of use of your vehicle, which is basically the equivalent of a rental, right? For the number of days that you have the loss of use of your vehicle, right? So the easiest thing to do is take a reasonable rental, do the math. How many days was it? Add a couple days for 2 or 3 days after the declaration of a total loss and submit that for reimbursement for loss of use. If you get a rental, you get reimbursed for the rental, and you can't claim a loss of use and loss of rental. It's one or the other. So if you don't get a rental, you can claim loss of use. If you get a rental, you can claim the rental reimbursement, but only for that time period.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel that a settlement for property damage is unfair, what are the legal options? And do they differ from a personal injury standpoint? Are there different? Is it a different process? Are there different parameters?
You can get your own appraisal and kind of get in a dispute about that. It's not, I wouldn't call it a legal aspect of it, other than you want that issue resolved before you settle the case. But 9 times out of 10, we just negotiate it and come to an agreement. Because that's the thing. It's like, if I have a client who's got a good bodily injury settlement, but their car's not taken care of, we're not going to settle. So you need to come to an agreement, and you can use that as leverage sometimes. and say, I can't settle this claim until you guys come to an agreement on the value, because like I said, once we sign this release, the claim is over.
Claim's over, yeah. And there goes your options for getting anything back from the property damage.
Right, but if you go get a single-sided appraisal on your own, it's not a reimbursable expense.
Okay.
There's no need for it to be, because you decided to do it on your own. You can use it as leverage to justify your position on the vehicle, sure, but the out-of-pocket expense won't be reimbursable.
Okay, yeah. So you have to pay for that appraisal, but you're doing that hoping that you'll be able to get the amount that they're going to give you up enough where that's worth it.
Yeah, and I would say, just to give people some comfort, that's few and far between. I mean, most times it's very simple. The other aspect of it too, just so we cover all the bases, is the insurance company is only responsible. Let's say that the vehicle is completely totaled. The insurance company is only responsible to cover the actual cash value of the vehicle. So if you're overfinanced in your vehicle and you owe more than the actual cash value of the vehicle, you're still responsible for that car note. And even though the vehicle's totaled, you're still contractually responsible for that car note, which is why when you go to a dealer, they ask if you want gap insurance to protect you from that situation. Right. So what you have to make clear when it comes to property damage is the law is not designed to put you in a new car. The law is designed to pay you for what you lost. Okay. So that's the caveat, is if you owe more than the car's worth, then you still owe on the loan. If you don't owe more than the vehicle's worth, then the money goes to pay off the loan first and you get the balance.
Right.
So it's something people have to understand. It's not designed, even though somebody else caused an accident and you're in it, totally get that. The law does not require them to buy you a new car.
Right. Yeah. Just the value of where it was at the time.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for tuning into the Secrets of Personal Injury Law with Colin Bober. To connect with Colin and his team, visit boberlawfirm.com, and please like and subscribe to our channel. We love having you be a part of our community. Colin, I loved having you here as always. Thanks so much for your time.
I enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.